Hello, everyone, on this wonderfully calm Sunday with nothing that's making us worry at all in the world. And democracy is fine, and there's no election. Look, it's just puppies, and Captain America is here with us. And see, puppies and Captain America, puppies and Captain America, puppies and Captain America. That's all this is. We're having some fizzy iced tea. It's Sunday brunch today. There's nothing wrong at all. Why is anyone worried?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, fascism rising. I forgot. We were almost able to. Look, I went 30 seconds of smiling and. Okay, the Sunday faithful are in. Hello, my patrons that are coming. Hello, Akiko. Hello, Russell. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We have returning guests. One of my favorite people. As you guys like to say, it's GIF war, but screw you, it's GIF. My GIF war compatriots, Andrew Seidel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in what I'm sure is a day where you'd rather be curled up eating ice cream and just taking Valium like M&Ms right now.
Yeah, no, I'm looking for any distraction now.
That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, like anything to keep me off of the 538 website is basically like this is what I need.
Right? Oh my!
I mean,
that's what, yeah.
I've been doing a lot of volunteering to do that too, but that's also like stressful too because when you're talking to voters and you're like, there are still undecided. There are not many undecided, but there are like still undecided people out there.
What?
I don't understand.
How? What? It's like they're like, man, like I know that I didn't want a turkey sandwich, dry, no mustard, no salt, but like I still got to think about the upsides to this glass and maggot sandwich. Like I could use this glass for something later, like. Yeah. Jesus. Scott over in the comments just said Beverly Hills is boarding up bigly. So if you guys didn't know yesterday, and I know because all I ever do is just click refresh on refresh on trending on Twitter. This is where I haven't caffeinated enough for the end of democracy. All I ever do is hit refresh on trending on Twitter. See, I can say my words today. Yesterday there was a Trump. I do what I can, sir. Yesterday there was there was a Trump rally of all of his douchebags from Beverly Hills who absolutely do not live in Beverly Hills. Look at the shoes. Just wandering through Beverly Hills, and like a lot of the people on Twitter are like, "See Trumpers in Beverly Hills." It's like, these are not people from Beverly Hills. They don't live here. Like, yeah, there are Trumpers everywhere you go, just like there are blue people everywhere you go. The difference is that, the Democrats don't come out of the closet and congregate in large groups in red areas because we don't have guns. We're just saying we have people threatening us. So how are you feeling going into the next few days other than terrified right now?
I mean, I bounce back and forth. When I am able to sort of center myself and really like get in the mindset, I feel good. I think if everybody keeps up the way they are right now, I've seen so many people volunteering, talk to so many people volunteering, donating, doing everything they can to get out the vote, to protect the vote. I think we're gonna be okay. I mean, I'm still alarmed, deeply alarmed. Like the math is right. Biden's gonna win the popular vote for sure.
Yeah.
But the Electoral College gives Trump like a 3 to 4 point bump automatically. It's in his favor. Then you have the voter suppression efforts, which is probably like another half to 1 point. And then you have the new voter suppression efforts that are not done by the party, but done by the judges in the federal and state judiciaries, which is probably like another half to 1 point. So we have to overcome all of these institutional hurdles to win. Which means get the fuck out and vote. Get everybody who out and vote. It's not enough. It means that it's more important now to vote than ever before. But I do think it is doable, and I feel good when I can get a little bit centered, but then I start looking at 538 and I look at Cohen's Twitter and I look at Dave Wasserman's Twitter.
Oh man. I mean, I feel good just looking at, because I've been going through each of the of the swing states, and that, temporarily makes me feel better because I'll look at it and go, oh, these are mostly leaning Biden, and then a couple of them that are swinging, and then I'm like, oh wait, I remember 2016 when we thought they were mostly leaning Hillary.
Yeah. I mean,
it's hard to you keep sitting there trying to talk yourself into thinking this is going to be okay, and you could keep talking yourself into either direction depending on how late at night it is and how much your
Yes.
brain is playing
Yeah.
is playing with you.
Yeah, or how many things you've done to make your brain not work the way it should.
It's how many drugs that for how much of the day.
How many beers have you had? I mean, but so I mean, like we have to vote. We have to vote overwhelming. Super important. That, I mean, that's an absolute must. But then I think the other thing that I really want to warn everybody about. I think everybody knows by now that we're not going to have an announcement probably on election night, unless
No.
Yeah, unless Biden wins Texas or Florida and it's clear, then yeah, which would be fantastic.
And there's been, I think, helping with that, the possibility that happens is bolstered by how much early voting there's been. But I think I don't know what the rules are state to state in terms of them being able to count the votes before election day. And I think that I believe I read this morning that in Michigan they're not allowed to count any of the early ballots before election day. Which why?
The answer to why is because it allows them to set a pretext for challenges later. It's usually done by conservative state legislators. It's here in Wisconsin as well, and so people are maybe familiar with the blue shift, red shift stuff that you're seeing, the blue mirage, red mirage on election nights. Go look it up. I'm not going to bother explaining it, but like that kind of thing, it helps. I mean, you can see Trump doing this now in a broader context, right? They're saying, and Kavanaugh said this in his stupid ass opinion the other day.
Oh my
God. We need to know who the winner is on election night, which is not the case. Never been the case.
Do.
Yeah, no, that's not the way elections work. That's not how states run elections. Election day is when people cast their votes and then they're counted, and sometimes it takes months, and that's just all there is to it. And you fucking
and what we typically get on election night, and I think people think that it's the states calling it. It's the media calling it based on projections, and the states officially they firm up who wins over the next weeks and months. Correct.
Correct. That's called certification, and then they certify their final vote tally at the very end. If you go back and read about Bush v. Gore and what happened in 2000, there, the nail in the coffin was when the Florida Republican Secretary of State certified
Brooks
the election
Brothers riot.
After the Brooks Brothers riot, which is something I'm legitimately worried about here.
And I think that there is an entire generation of voters now who is like people who are voting for the first time who doesn't because me said are pretty day. There's a whole generation of voters who they don't remember the Brooks Brothers riot at all. So to some of the 18-year-olds who might be listening right now, could you tell them what they might be in store for here?
Yeah, I mean, the long and short of it was there was a lot of legal wrangling over the recount of votes in Florida because the vote was so close. Gore was allowed to ask for recounts. He did in certain counties, and you had this Brooks Brothers riot, which is what became known as, because it was all these white guys in khakis and blazers and button downs going into the county office and rioting and saying, "Stop the count, election. This is
Proto-Nazis."
fraud. Yeah. And they shut the recount down doing that. They actually stopped the votes. And this is what became known as the Brooks Brothers riot. And I mean, no, I guess, real violence to speak of compared to some of the stuff that we've seen leading into this. And we were talking beforehand how we're both kind of worried about that. But I'll tell you the thing that all of this that we've been talking about and all of that makes me excited, and the thing that I'm thinking about for the future is that if we win now, if the Democrats win, if Biden wins, if they take back the Senate and the presidency,
and the Senate looks pretty good.
Yeah. Winning is just the beginning. And this is the thing that I think everybody needs to really start getting in the mindset of. We have done a ton of work up to this point, but this is just for a chance to create the world that we want. That's what we're fighting for right now. And then we have to capitalize on that chance. I mean, we're going to have to fight for
pushing.
Massive reform, democratic reform, small d democratic reform, so that things like this never happen again.
So and it's
we're not relying on courts. We're not seeing Brooks Brothers riots. We're not seeing this kind of shit happening. That's what
we learned. We learned where the edges were of the U.S. presidency from all the things that Bannon and all the things that Miller pushed this president to do, and go, here's where the power can go. Maybe we need to start reining that in and go, all right, we need to put guardrails up where we didn't know there weren't guardrails before because nobody tried to drive in this lane.
Exactly. I think that's one of the major things that we need to do. And the other thing that we need to do is we need to expand the electorate as much as we can. You know, I was talking with my friends yesterday, and they said, I'm still so bummed that like 45% of the country, give or take, is going to vote this way. Like I don't understand how 45% of the country can be in favor of this. And I agree. I have a hard time putting myself there. But I also pointed out to my buddy, like, it's actually not 45%.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people who aren't voting.
Yeah, it's 45% of the electorate, and people are not voting for a lot of reasons, including all of these court cases. All of the headlines that you're seeing right now, one of the unspoken goals that the Republicans have for that is to dissuade people from voting generally.
Yes.
They throw up their hands before they even go out the door and say, look, my vote's probably not going to count. It doesn't even matter. I'm not going to do it. And they're trying to take your vote away because it is the only thing that matters. So
it's like, if we took away the electoral college tomorrow, how different would the voting, would the electorate be? Like, would the people who decide to vote be? Like, there would be more Democrats voting in Texas. I think there would be more Republicans voting in Texas too, because they would be like, oh, I actually have to show up.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing there would be a huge shift in the people who vote in every state, because they would see it as a thing they have to do to get their candidate to win. I think, at least.
And I've actually had that. So I've been having this conversation a lot lately about the electoral college. And I have not heard a single good argument in favor of the electoral college. So here's the principle that you espouse if you're not for the electoral college. One person gets one vote. Okay.
But that seems, that works.
If you are for the electoral college, you have to explain to me an argument for why that principle shouldn't work. And if you're saying, well, I don't want East Coast elites deciding for me, you've already botched it. That's not an argument because you're not having East Coast elites. The Republicans on the East Coast get a vote too.
Yeah, I want the Republicans who live in Boston to get a vote too. I want a Republican in New York. I want a Republican in Idaho to get one vote. I want a Democrat in Idaho to get one vote. I want them all to get one vote. I don't see how they're like, New Yorkers are getting more votes than me. Well, that's because there are more New Yorkers than you, asshole. There were also, and people don't seem to realize this, because I've had the conversation a few times when people are like, so what's the big split between the red and the blue states? Is that ever going to flip? And I've had this conversation mostly with people who don't live in America and think there's just there are only red people in red states and only blue people in blue states. California had 4 million votes for Trump in the last election. That's more than, I believe, any other state. And we are the bluest of the blue states. Yeah. It's just that we have more people than anywhere else. So wouldn't it work better if we just did the popular vote so that everybody gets all their votes counted? I feel that would work, except, then the candidates would have to really change the way they campaign and go to all those. Yeah.
That would make a difference. I mean, Trey Crowder, actually, the liberal redneck.
I love him.
Me too. And he did a great bit on this where he talked about how many Democrats there are in the South, how many liberals there are in the South. And one of the whole goals of his comedy is to tear down this idea that everybody who sounds like him is an idiot and a conservative asshole, and he does a fantastic job, and he has got a great bit about it. But I also saw a map the other day floating around online that didn't do states in red and blue, but in shades of purple.
Oh yeah.
And if you see that, it really brings home how spread out equally, for the most part, people are, and liberals and progressives. I mean, obviously there are pockets, but it was really a much better way to visualize our country. I think I often wonder how much we suffer because of like the poor visualizations we see on the news and things like that. And every now and then you get to see one new one that really brings it home. And that purple map was a great one. And then the map of population density as circles as opposed to so
I remember seeing the beginning of quick interruption. Mom has entered the chat. It's
Hi,
whenever. It's she raised me, so keep saying whatever you're gonna say anyway. I was a bad influence. But I remember seeing at the beginning of the
She did a
pandemic,
fantastic job.
people. It's one of us gave the other one gray hair, and I'm not sure which. But I remember seeing at the beginning of the pandemic people being like, "Look at all these places that have crazy outbreaks of it, and they're Democratic centers. Coincidence?" I'm like, I'm shocked that places with a lot of people spread disease
Yeah.
faster. Karen, tell me more.
Yes.
Let me
Population
know which
density.
channel on YouTube you got your medical degree from. Oh man. And it's like, but now it's spread shockingly because this guy, this Donald Drumpf guy has been wandering across the upper Midwest having these rallies without masks, with people tightly cramped together. And a recent study is and they've been tracking this. I believe 30,000 cases and 700 deaths have been linked fairly conclusively back to his rallies.
Yeah, that was that Stanford study, right?
If you can't stop people from voting by not allowing them
Kill them.
Yeah, it's not that I'm happy about this. I just didn't think he would go this route of trying to get out of the job. Like normally he just like has somebody else do the job or just refuses to pay someone. This time he's like, maybe I can just kill my voters.
Yeah. And I think that those numbers, I think that was only through the end of September and so he had some of his most recent rallies, I had a question for you though, that I thought about when we said it. I was wondering,
I'll do what I can.
What you and all your doctor friends are going to do with all the extra money you're getting from the hospitals that are dealing with COVID people. If you could just, are you going on like to Tijuana? You're going to go, I don't know. What are your plans with that extra money?
Well, first I'm going to thank George Soros. I'm going to make a big statue to him in my front yard, preferably golden, just like the calf that I have in my backyard for when I have sacrifices to Satan. Then I'm going to pay to have all the toxins sucked out of me from the vaccine that I took. Good. Because I wanted to fool people. And after that, I'm going to buy my own personal child to suck the adrenochrome out of. I'm going to buy it off Wayfair, though. I hear Wayfair has the best children.
And free shipping. So.
Oh, yeah. Free shipping. Yeah. That's important when you buy a child.
Yeah.
So whoever is taking this clip and putting it onto onto a QAnon site to try to nail me, you're welcome. So somebody just asked edibles. Hey, guys, a couple weeks, just a quick heads up. A couple weeks ago, after I had an edible bite me midway through a live stream, I decided never to do an edible again before these. Like I didn't say I didn't take a hit or two off of a vape because I have like my medications for my headache make me so nauseous that if I don't take an anti-nausea med in the morning, it's bad. But no, never an edible before a live stream again. That was, look, some of you guys thought that was funny. I was horrified because suddenly I was like, how do words? Yeah, it wasn't good. But yeah, it's kind of scary seeing President Trump saying at his events that these doctors are getting paid more if you have, because COVID is hard to treat and takes more stuff to treat it. And so the government, when there are various insurance companies, when they are paying the hospital what they are due for this, they need more money for the patient for that. So that's kind of how it's like he's taking a true thing and making it sound like a lie or making it sound like a worse thing than it is. So that's not helpful. But when has Trump ever been helpful?
Literally never.
I mean, like one day he will die and his corpse will help fertilize a couple of daffodils and then he'll be helping something.
Even that, like he's just such a toxic person. I wonder.
The poor daffodils. They'll be mutants.
Yeah.
Those daffodils will glow green and they will salt the earth forever. Oh man. Let's see. Let's talk. Let's go through. So let's reflect a little bit on the beginning of this because I saw an article this morning. It's on the Twitters, of course, because that's where we go for everything. And it was talking about someone who was criticizing an article. Hold on a second. I just accidentally I had an article up, but I went to the wrong thing right after reading it. I hate it when I do this to myself. I was checking out an article. give me a quick second and I will find this. But there was.
Can I do a quick PSA while you're
Yes,
finding?
do
Okay.
that whilst I'm hunting this, please.
My PSA is, if you have your mail-in ballot, if you're one of those people who had an absentee ballot and we're going to mail it in, obviously it's too late to do that. Do not mail it in. Find a drop box, take it to your clerk's office. You can't be mailing it in. Please don't do that. It will not get there in time, and who knows what these courts will do with it. So don't take the risk. Turn it in, hand deliver, or go vote in person if you're able to. 22 states you can do that, I think. PSA over.
Damn it, why is this thing not coming up? I had the article. And it's just
okay. I'll do another.
It is
good. The last time I was on here,
do your
I was
PSA,
like freaked out. I'm not a superstitious man, but the last time I was on here, 2 seconds before Yvette and I got on, the tech check at the beginning, we found out that RBG died.
Oh my God, that was horrifying.
Yeah.
I was like, how could this happen to us? No.
Yep. And then I predicted they were going to ram through Amy Coney Barrett. They did that in 30 days, and our courts are gone. This is not a fair court. God. This is not an impartial court. This is a Republican court. 3 of the justices on this court were on the team that litigated Bush versus Gore: Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Roberts. Alito is more conservative than all of them. Thomas's wife is like this crazy conservative who posts Soros memes on her Facebook. It's like, literally, that's not an
She's terrifying.
Gorsuch sits in a seat that was stolen for political reasons. So this court doesn't have a legitimacy problem. It is illegitimate. It is a wing of the Republican Party. It's already making decisions like it.
The only borderline good thing I can say about Gorsuch is he actually has some brain power, and we've seen him break from the Republicans once. He's still not good. But
do you want to hear the scariest fact about the new court?
Yes. Please clarify me more.
Kavanaugh is the new median justice. That means, in terms of conservative to liberal ideology, Kavanaugh is now the middle of the court. So sit with that for a minute. Hostile to the First Amendment, devil's triangling, beer guzzling, boofing, boys will be sexual assaulters, calendaring Brett Kavanaugh, who worked in the W. Bush White House, is now the median member of the U.S. Supreme Court.
I didn't want to think about boofing or devil's triangle with that. Look, I didn't want to think about a devil's triangle from that man to start with.
The one thing you could say is, staffers in Congress had to explain to their senators and Congress
I found the article.
What that was, what a devil's triangle was during that whole thing, and that is the only part of that makes me smile a little bit.
The fact that he explained it to a few of them, and he's like, drinking game. They're like, we totally accept that, and you're like, that man has either had a devil's triangle and he's accepting it because he's like, yeah, sure, it's fine, or he has not, and he's like, yeah, okay, of course. Nobody else who's this prim and proper could ever have had one of these. It's fine. I don't know what a devil's triangle is. So anyways, found the article. It's from the Bulwark, and it's discussing a couple of years ago Ross Douthat. I love that his name could also be pronounced do that. But he's a conservative commentator, and wrote several years ago that, Trump's not a fascist. He hasn't really done a fascism yet. And here's the thing, just because somebody hasn't done a fascism yet, just because they haven't sent the tanks down the street, doesn't mean that they wouldn't have the chance to do it. And a couple things were pointed out in this new piece in the Bulwark from Laura K. Field. And I just wanted to grab a few quotes from this. So she quoted off. So here's the quick thing I wanted to read from this. In the 2015 piece, Douthat argued that Trump should not be deemed a fascist for 3 reasons. First off, Trump just wasn't very serious. Here's a quote from the piece. He isn't actually building a fascist mass movement. He hasn't won a primary yet, or rallying a movement of far-right intellectuals, parentheses, and Coulter notwithstanding. His suggestion that a Black Lives Matter protester at one of his rallies might have deserved to be roughed up was pretty ugly, but still several degrees of ugly away from an actual fascist move, which would require organizing a paramilitary force to take to the streets to brawl with the decadent supporters of our rotten legislative government.
Yeah. Would it be like telling people to stand back and stand by and to watch the polls in violation of federal law, or like having your supporters run your political opponents off the road.
Oh, it gets
And
worse. Now,
okay.
second doubt that argued Trump was too unhinged to appeal to the GOP.
Yeah.
Oh, there's more. It's still quite likely that the Republican Party is inoculated against him. Doubt that cites conservative religious commitments and libertarianism as bulwarks against Trump. Right, right. Finally, a national freakout over Trump the fascist would, doubt that argued, be a distraction from the root causes of widespread civic disaffection. And the author of this piece says, I bring up this old column not to dunk on doubt that, oh, bitch, yes, you did, and I love it. Who is very thoughtful. No, he's not. But because it's important to keep in mind just how astonishing the events of the last 4 years have been. Almost all the things doubt that mused about in 2015 would be telltale signs of fascism that have come to be. Trump has rallied a movement of far-right intellectuals. He has mobilized paramilitary forces to take to the streets. And of course, Trump did win the primary. It's just interesting that everything they're like, he's not gonna pull a fit. He did. So and I mean, there was a wonderful, I'll always cite Masha Gessen because I love her so much. She did an interview kind of beginning of this whole thing on Samantha Bee, where Sam Bee is like, how bad can this get? And Masha's like, well, first he's going to do this. First he's going to do this. And every single thing except, I believe, nuclear war, he has done so far. And it's just, look up Masha Gessen on Sam Bee, and it's a terrifying interview. And there's at one point, Sam Bee is like, and then we go back up, right? Like we've hit rock bottom and then we go back up. And Masha says, there's an old Russian joke where we say, we think we've hit rock bottom, and then came a knock from below.
Yeah, there is no bottom.
Yeah, I don't know if we hit bottom here. And that's like, I never had that feeling about America before.
I mean, I thought, I mean, that's just a wildly naive article. I mean, the idea that religion would provide guardrails for fascism is insane. I mean, you go back to the founding. Like James Madison wrote in his memorial and remonstrance against religious assessments. This is the document that essentially laid out the roadmap, the talking points for why we need a separation of state and church. And in the 8th talking point, he talks about the influence of ecclesiastical establishments on civil society. And he says, in some instances, they have been seen to erect a spiritual tyranny on the ruins of civil authority. In many instances, they have been seen upholding the thrones of political tyranny. In no instance have they been seen as the guardians of the liberties of the people. Rulers who wish to subvert the public liberty may have found in established clergy convenient auxiliaries. Like, to think that would work is just stupid.
I appreciate the bluntness of that pronunciation. It's just, it's not a thing.
I've lost a lot of my patience in the last month or so, and I try not to just call people stupid. I try not to do it online.
It's fine. Do it. This is my
days.
favorite from now. In Soviet Russia, rock bottom hit you. And given that we're being run by Soviet Russia right now, like who's the president right now? Is it Putin or is it Stephen Miller, or is it Jared?
I mean, it's the Federalist Society who's
oh
running
my
things,
God.
really. I mean, I mean, if you look at what's been done, like look at what the Senate has done. Nothing except judges.
Yeah, and they're all from a list from the Federalist Society, correct?
Yeah, from Leonard Leo. Yeah, I mean they've done nothing since judges about anything except for judges since probably the first and only COVID relief package. I mean, I talked about the Supreme Court, during that PSA interlude a moment ago, but the lower courts are worse, just as bad. And I think this is something that everybody needs to understand. Our courts are broken; they are fucked. We have to unfuck the courts. And while, yeah, I mean,
how does? Here's a question that you'll know better than me, to say the least. How do we unfuck the lower courts? Like the discussion is, there's a lot of discussion about let's get up to 13 justice. Let's expand the Supreme Court. What do we do about the federal courts? How does that get fixed?
So this is fantastic, and I'm ready to have this conversation.
This is brand new information for me, so let's hear it.
Okay, so the first thing everybody should know is our federal court system is long overdue for an expansion. And part of the reason it hasn't been expanded in the past was because there was political infighting and nobody wanted to agree. Nobody wanted to give justices that many judges to one party or the other. This is what the Democrats have to do when they win, and it's something that we all have to advocate for. And if you want to ask me follow-up questions, you don't understand something I say, find me on Twitter. That's your best bet, Andrew Seidel. I will answer your questions on this. I'm also, somebody bought unfuckthecourts.org and net for me, and I'm gonna get something going on there.
If you can't get Andrew Seidel on his normal account, there is an account for Andrew Seidel's butt. Maybe yes, Andrew Seidel's butt.
Not me though. I will not answer. My butt has its mind of its own. And
do we know who runs that account yet?
I don't know who runs it. No, it's not me.
It was funny when I said I was having you on, somebody asked me if I ran that account. I'm like, I didn't even know it existed, but that's amazing.
No, yeah, it's a weird. I have some. There are like some weird fringe things that happen to me. There's that erotic in my butt.
Like it'd be weird. It'd be weirder if you had like a more random body part than a butt. Like if someone was like, I'm going to make one of his nipples, but just one, like that would start to be weird. Like, do I have to fear this thing getting yanked off sometime? Like that.
And then and I'd be worried about like the other nipple being left out too. I would feel like I'd have to talk to it at night.
You're like, does this one need loved more? Yeah, like what's happening?
Little comfort for Lefty over there.
Anyways, tell us about the court.
Okay, so double the size of the entire federal judiciary. That's number one. Double the number of district courts, the number of circuit courts, double it. They will still be behind. I mean, it takes 3 to 4 years to litigate cases these days. It's insane. And justice delayed is justice denied, right? Like it should not take that long to litigate a case. It should be 6 months, maybe a year, depending on some, discovery and things like that. It should be much faster than it is. So double the size of all the courts. And then I think we need to, at a minimum, double the size of the Supreme Court. I do not think 3 or 4 or 5 justices is a solution. And I'm happy to elaborate a little bit. I mean,
yes. Please.
Okay, so basically, we're not going to have the political capital probably to do something like this again anytime soon. We need to take advantage of it as number one. Number two, the Republicans, Mitch McConnell, did everything they could to pack the federal courts. The federal courts are fucked. They're packed already. We have to unfuck them. McConnell held open 105 seats from the Barack Obama presidency. Yeah, to fill.
Like how just to explain how completely out of the ordinary is that compared to a normal presidency?
Insanely out of the ordinary. The Brennan Center put together a report on this. Maybe I'll tweet it out after this so people can go find it easy. About how when they started holding open these seats. I mean, much earlier than before, and just stonewalled, just refused to even hold hearings for these judges.
I just have to interrupt for a funny question. Science question from Sam Schneider. Do flat earthers believe Trump that we're rounding the corner?
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay, sorry. Carry on.
Well played, Sam. So there needs to be some sort. They held open those seats. The only thing they cared about was packing those seats to the exclusion of passing coronavirus relief. Right? We're not getting that.
Somehow they get ACB in when they know that multiple people on the Senate Judiciary Committee have been exposed, and Mike Pence have been exposed to COVID. They're like, it's okay, we're going to go in there.
I mean, Mike Lee had it. Tom Tillis had it. They were in the room after testing positive.
And I would be shocked if Pence, if they even tested Pence. I'm going to guess that they either used an antigen test, which is less likely to show up as positive, or they didn't test him at all just so we could go in. Like, there's no way. There's something. The fact that they pushed so hard to get that done with so much risk is just, like, I hope that more people who were undecided saw that and said, even if I wanted Republicans to do whatever, they're willing to risk other people in their own party's health to try to get this thing done. Why wouldn't they do it 2 weeks later? It's just, there's something. I don't see how you don't see the moral bankruptcy. Like I wouldn't want, like, I have this kind of, internal rule, and I hope most people in politics do. Don't take power that you wouldn't cede to the person across the table from you. And they keep doing it. And I think it's because they have a presumption that they're going to be able to hold on to power for themselves indefinitely. And I think they're trying to set it up that way too.
I think that's what I think they're trying to use the lifetime appointments of the courts to hold on to power indefinitely. I think that's right. But the problem is that if the Democrats don't fix that, they are then incentivizing that political play. So you have to disincentivize it. And the best way to do that is to make it completely worthless, to make the fact that Mitch McConnell blew all the Republican political capital on stocking the federal judiciary, make that worthless. So put in 25 justices on the Supreme Court. Dilute their power. We're not just rebalancing it, we're disincentivizing any legislator from ever obstructing in the name of stacking the judiciary again in the future.
Just do things that would make Ruth Bader Ginsburg look down and be like, yes, my babies make me proud.
Exactly. And so other things, the bigger you make the expansion, the harder or the less potent any tit for tat becomes.
Yep.
Right? Like if you put 3 on there and then the Republicans put another 3, where are you? If you put 10 on there and they put another 10, then it's still not as much.
Each individual justice isn't quite as big of a threat.
Exactly. Like and if this is done right, if the Democrats do this right and people help them and explain to them and get behind them to do this right, I don't think you're absolutely right to point out that the GOP is trying to use the courts and they've installed these judges to keep power. If we do this right, I don't think this GOP, the Republican Party as we know it right now, wins another election.
There was something I read recently that in Texas, they are, because of changing demographics, it's likely that they will not win another election in Texas at the presidential level. Like 2024, they're done. Those changing demographics are going to keep on hurting them. So they're going to, if they win this, they're going to keep on digging into all these different voter suppression methods. At some point, like something will break for them and they can't keep digging into things that are more and more illegal. So we need to get a foothold now and stop it is what it comes down to.
And we can break it for them. I mean, so Democrats win everything, hopefully. Get rid of the filibuster, first thing. 1, reform the courts, like we've just been talking about it. 2, structural democratic reform, small d democratic reform. DC statehood, campaign finance, expand the vote, protect the vote, basically everything that's in HR 1. And then you can do all of the other legislation. But by then, you've expanded. It goes back to that conversation I was saying with my buddy. Like, 45% of the electorate supports Trump, but that's not 45% of the population. The electorate is much bigger than or can be much bigger than it is, and we've got to get it there. So we're expanding the denominator while their numerator is staying the same. If you want to be like a math nerd about it.
No, I just want to address something in the comments because I know he said he's being sarcastic, but John Rossman just commented, "We can't let the other side win." Sorry, apparently I have the Rona now. Tickle in my throat, I promise. John Rossman, he said we can't let the other side win ever again, or it's the end of the world. Now, the thing is about the Republicans winning this time is none of us are saying it will be the end of the world if some Republican congressmen and senators win their races. We're saying that the way that Trump has been running this and has been promoting violence and has been saying reacting to a group of his followers trying to push a vehicle in the caravan for the Biden election group off the road. We're saying that the promotion of violence by this group, it's gonna fuck things up for how America works for a while. So no, Republicans, like your lower case R Republican who just kind of wants smaller taxes and for the government to leave them the fuck alone, that's not the problem. The problem is that the party no longer has things that they stand for. What they stand for is Trump. And Trump is a fascist. So this might be the last free and fair election that we have. And there was I want to say it was either a quote from Masha Gessen or Tim Snyder that was, you never know when the last election that you vote in is going to be. And this might be it. So let's not take that for granted. And please vote like this might be the last one you get.
I 100% agree with that. And I don't think you can overstate the importance of this election or the damage that Trump has done to our democratic norms and to our democratic institutions. And I think we are at the point where we can still recover, especially if there's some sort of reckoning. But I don't know that we could recover
No.
with another 4 years of this.
There was a video. I watched a video of Trump from 4 years ago. That there was an interview of him with Wolf Blitzer, and compared that to the interview of him with Jonathan Swan. Oh man, it's that for a brief moment of time, I was like, man, we nailed him, just like all those other times we nailed him and nothing happened. But he just comparing that interview of him with Jonathan Swan to an interview 4 years ago with Wolf Blitzer, it was like, my God, the amount of cognitive decline in 4 years. Who is this man going to be 4 years from now?
Yeah.
This is not, and like whenever I hear someone saying Biden's falling apart, no, Biden has a stutter. Okay. Biden's just fucking fine. We've seen him answer questions over and over again. Somebody takes a clip of him and finds the one place where he stutters. Look, I have a stutter. I get it. It sucks. Occasionally your voice is like, I'm going to do a thing you didn't ask me to do. And it blows. But he's perfectly lucid. And he has a wonderful running mate by his side. He was not my first choice, but my God, I will take Mr. Rogers over a Golgotha. Okay. Like I would prefer Mr. Rogers over a shit demon. This is an improvement. Just, oh my God. There's so, I feel like there are so many obvious things to this. And I know that we're talking to mainly people who are already either planning on voting Biden or already have voted Biden, and probably likewise have family members who are like, I just don't know, and are probably struggling with what to say to them right now. Have you dealt with family members who are still on the Trump train?
Not too many family members, but I have been volunteering for the Biden campaign, and I have been calling a lot of voters. I did have some friends who voted Trump in 2016. I've talked to all of them. I had a buddy in Florida who in 2016 I texted him and I said, please tell me you didn't vote for Trump today. And I texted him on election day. Or election night when things started looking bad after I got back from poll watching, and he said, no, I didn't. And I was like, thank you so much, man. I was really worried that you were going to. He's like, I early voted 3 weeks ago for him, and I was like, you fucker. But he regrets it. He's not. He's a doctor, so he's like appalled by what's happened.
Yeah, I know a few people who turned into Trump voters since 2016. Yeah. Some of them count themselves as skeptics.
Yeah, I don't get that.
One of them started an Atheist for Trump group. I don't even like. I'm like, do you guys think that religious liberties and the freedom to worship as you see fit or to not worship is going to get better under a Trump presidency? Really? No, these people are Christian fundamentalists and you're fucked. Yeah. He likes you because you're a token atheist who says you like him. That once your usefulness is gone, so are you.
He's a Christian nationalist. I mean, and this is what I wrote my first book about. The idea that he would somehow be an ally to the skeptics or the atheists or the secular movement is just it's denialism. There's no way around it.
I think a lot of people, like myself included, I'm pretty sure Trump is an atheist. Like he believes in nothing. He believes in Trump, and that's about it.
I would guess he is God. I know that joke's been made a lot, but I genuinely think that's true.
Yeah, I look at him and think like this man, like when people have asked him, do you ever apologize? Have you ever made a mistake? He's like, nah, I look to myself for guidance. I ask myself for forgiveness. That's a narcissistic, sociopathic, very God complexy. But I mean, he works with the evangelicals and like how. It's in your opinion, looking at this, someone who doesn't believe, how well does that end up working out with the Christian nationalists long term? Like when they are just using him basically, and it seems to be working out pretty well right now for them.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I'm really interested to see what the reaction is to this election. I mean, there's already been just, boatloads and boatloads of hypocrisy from the evangelicals, from the Christian nationalists on this. When you look at their reaction to Bill Clinton and his lying and sex scandals, and then compare that to what they they thought of Trump and all his paying off porn stars and stuff. And I covered some of this in my book. There's even like, Franklin Graham has like exact polar opposite statements on both issues.
That was so amazing.
And so I think I'm interested to see how it plays out. I don't think anyone has ever accused evangelicals or Christian nationalists of intellectual honesty or consistency. So I'm not going to be particularly surprised when they change their mind or say that. I'm also very curious to see how it plays out with Pence, because he is one of theirs, and I'm curious to see what shakes out there.
Yeah, he's pretty over the top. I'm also curious how their very pro-lifey views are going to play out when there starts to be violence in the streets. Like there was a 5-year-old who was pepper sprayed the other day.
I mean, there have been kids in cages and they don't care about it. So I don't expect that to change.
The only children they want to save are the hypothetical ones being sold by Wayfair.
Yeah.
What's been terrifying with that is watching QAnon go mainstream within the Republican Party, like, and seeing presidential incentives, like seeing candidates on the Republican Party have to, and I'm using this term because it's the term the Republicans use against the left all the time, watching Republican candidates virtue signal to the QAnon voters, hey, I'm on your side. I said something about child trafficking, vote for me. Like, it's been crazy watching them just find the lowest common denominator. See, it's look, this is what they would take and cut against me and be like, see, she's lost her cognition. She has no cognitive anymore. Cognitive is not happening. They're finding the lowest common denominator and just being like, yep, we're gonna go to the basest instinct and go for this. I
think that also speaks to what we were talking about earlier, right? Like they're a minority party doing their damnedest to solidify through undemocratic means their grip on power. And this is a symptom of that. They know they can't carry a free and fair general election where everybody can vote they can't even carry a free and fair general election where people's votes are suppressed without currying the favor of the most insane fringe conspiracy theories. They can't lose a single vote, which is why they're trying to take the vote away from everybody else, because they can't increase their numerator. The only thing they can do is decrease the denominator. So, I mean, it goes to that. Oh, I just saw am I supposed to answer this question down here?
I've just been throwing them up as they come. Let's see.
I haven't been looking. I'm not paying attention to the chat.
Sometimes I'm remembering to get to them. I'm not remembering them all. Look, it's a long week in the death of democracy.
I know. Democracy's dying, and there's a lot to talk about.
We're tired.
I mean, that's an easy one.
Yeah, I don't remember if I said this on the chat or if I told this to you before we started chatting, but guys, I threw up yesterday, and I don't know if it was from pre-election stress or just, my medications occasionally give me a stomachache, but like, this is how stressed I am right now. Like, I'm about to make 2 more cheesecakes today, and I made a cheesecake last week just because cheesecake making makes me less stressed out, and I'm really stressed out right now. I'm a 3 cheesecake weekend stressed out kind of stressed.
Are you watching the Great British Bake Off?
No, I just you've had Victor Harris's cheesecake at some point at one of our atheist get-togethers, right?
I don't remember it, and it seems like I should remember it
Oh
given
my
your
God.
description or your face right there. So I'm going to say no, I don't think I have.
I was living in the San Francisco area at the time that I got married, and I'd had his cheesecake before, but I also decided to have it for my wedding cake.
Oh, nice.
I have no regret. It's so good. Like, and of course, like when you're best, like when the person who has the best cheesecake is also a professional cheesecake maker, you're not going to get that recipe. You're just not. And he, of course, like he's not on like Gold Bellies or anything, so I can't get it delivered from San Francisco to LA. So I'm just trying to figure it out. And like I've been hunting through his websites, and I'm like, what sounds like it might?
You're like reading his poetry, looking for clues. Yeah.
Like, which thing? So eventually, I find a recipe, and I'm like, here are the things that I like. The one thing, like I knew what kind of gave it the hint of flavor that made it like the right flavor I wanted. I'm like, okay, here are the little additives, but I didn't know what combination of heavy cream, sour cream, whatever. And he's like, what recipe are you using? So I told him the recipe. He's like, those are the, and eventually he said, I know what ingredients are in it now. And I realized after making the recipe I was originally settled on, it had been made way too fluffy. I'm like, okay, he's not lying to me about the ingredients. Now I just have to figure out the ratios. So I bought enough ingredients to make like 2 cheesecakes to like test out ratios of like cream cheese to egg to all that good stuff. But I'm so excited. I'm making a bunch of cheesecake today.
Yeah, and the best thing is you get to eat it afterwards.
And the best thing is I get to feel guilty afterwards.
Like,
Look,
I've given up on it. I mean, like, I've given up. Like, I basically, okay, for the last 4 weeks, pretty much since Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, I'm just like, you know what?
Man.
Nothing matters. I'm fighting my ass off, and I'm going to keep fighting my ass off, and I'm not going to worry about anything else.
I'm surprised that I've stayed within 6 pounds of my COVID beginning weight. Like, I'm shocked. Like, because I'm a person who I look at a calorie and my pants don't fit anymore. Like, I started, like, I was a fat kid growing up. I was a fat kid until like my mid-20s, and I'll gain weight easily if I'm like, all right, I'm gonna not be on my diet this weekend. Fuck, what happened? Somehow in the pandemic, like between days where I have no appetite from stress and days where I'm like, give me all the cookies, seems to have balanced. So staying.
I mean, I like this chat comment right here from Jamie Gee. Fuck food guilt in 2020. Yes,
I like
Jamie.
this. Star has a good comment. We're all coming out of this with sedentary dad bod. My dad bod is coming along great. I have the look of someone who may work out occasionally, but also likes nachos, which I think is about the dad bod look.
Yeah,
it's dad bod with with a little bit of back fats forming. I'm okay with it. We're going. Let's see.
I mean, nobody can see it. Like, just up is like,
yeah,
the world we live in now. It's
as long as I can contour some cheekbones. Like, that's all I need.
The only Andrew's ass you get is on the Twitter account that somebody runs. So
that's America's ass, Andrew.
That was well played. I got the shirt for it.
Somebody said that earlier in chat. For the record, I stole that. I haven't. It's not that I haven't looked at your ass or have looked at your ass. It's been so long that I don't have a recollection of your ass. But yeah. I'm sure.
The in-person ass was like 3 or 4 years ago, probably.
It's been long enough ago that it's been long enough ago that I have formed a marriage since then and have moved to another domicile. Yeah. So it's been a while. One day when the world is open again and democracy maybe hasn't fallen apart, I'll see you. Not through a computer. Oh man.
Hey, wait, can I answer that question before I forget?
Yeah, absolutely. Which one were we?
It was the question about term limits on the Supreme Court.
Oh yeah. Let's do that.
Because I want people to stop trying to spend energy on this.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think that came up last time I had you on, and you had a good reason why we shouldn't aim for this.
Yeah, the only solution to the Supreme Court is expanding the number of justices. And I've heard people say things like there's a big popular plan, like, well, let's just expand it to the number of circuits. And that stems from a tradition in the Supreme Court that a justice would ride the circuit and sit on cases. It's outdated. There's no reason to tag the number of Supreme Court justices to the number of circuits. And if we're going to do that, let's do it after we double the number of circuits, not before. Yeah. So this idea of like 13 justices, like that, not enough. More. Yeah. But the good behavior thing.
I like where your thought is on that.
The good behavior thing. So, the term limits thing. Article 3 of the Constitution tells us about the federal court system, and it's really like bare. There's not a lot of language there. The old white guys and some young white guys who were writing the Constitution were lawmakers and lawyers for the most part. So Article 1 is the legislative branch, Congress. That takes up about a little more than 50% of the words in the Constitution.
Oh, wow.
Article 2 is the executive, the president. That takes up a little less than 25% of the words in the Constitution.
And he thinks it means that he has all the unbelievable powers likes of which you've never seen. I can fly, according to Article 2. I'm going to jump off the roof now to let you know. Don't try to catch me. I will fly. I know. God, someone should tell him that's what it says. Yeah, I won't do it because I don't want him to. I don't want President Trump to come to harm.
so Secret Service, 75% of the Constitution's words are Article 1 and 2. And then 8% about is Article 3. So not a lot is said on the courts. And one of the few things that's said about the courts is that judges get their positions during good behavior. And that has been taken to mean that they get to stay on there for life if they want to. And part of this is to keep the judiciary independent, right? We don't want them beholden. We don't want them thinking about how they're going to run for president later and get back in office and become lobbyists. Yeah.
If they're not like, let me make this decision well so that this person will grease my palm when I get out. And
exactly. And so if you were to try to do a term limit solution, or if you were to try to get around a term limit solution by saying, well, we're going to have a rotating panel of Supreme Court justices that have to decide cases.
If you were to do you would have to make it so that they cannot run for another political appointment afterwards.
No, you're going to be passing a law that is going to get challenged and going to get decided by
the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court.
Gotcha.
And they're not going to uphold that. It's a non-starter.
Like, I can only have my job for 20 years.
Yeah. So it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. To me, it's not workable. And there are these other, like Pete Buttigieg had these, and there was a couple people who were floating this plan. We'll have you get 24 justices, and then you select 8 or 9 to decide each case, something along those lines. Which it sounds good, and if you were starting from scratch again, like maybe that would work. But then you have Congress telling the court how to run its own business, and it is a co-independent branch of the government, and it's going to say, fuck off, like we get to decide how to do things ourselves. You don't get to tell us how we run our internal procedures. So I think the only and the best and the easiest solution is give us as many judges on the Supreme Court as you can. I mean, like seriously, there's no reason to have 13. There's no reason to have 15, 21.
There's no reason not to have 37.
Yeah, 37, 58.
I say we go 59. With 51 because then you have 3 teams of 17.
There you go.
I like that 51 is 3 times 17. I don't know why. I like that. 51 sounds like a good amount.
And it'll be like the number 1 justice for every state once DC's made a state too. So
exactly.
Puerto Rico gets to decide. Maybe we add another. But I mean, and if I know people say, well, what about the tit for tat then with the Republicans when they win power? Again, if we do this right, they don't win power again. And number 2, fine, let them add another 40 justices if they want.
They want to turn it into 99 Supreme Court judges. Yeah. Cool.
Go for it.
Do that. Yeah. We'll turn it into we can turn it into a 201 seat. We'll do it. Let's just make it a really big chamber for the Supreme Court justices.
Yeah. But again, if you do it right, if the Dems do this right, and again, voting is just the beginning. Voting is just our chance to make the changes that we want to see. So
then it's lot of letter writing, a lot of phone calls, a lot of taking to. And I think at one point I was not a believer in taking to the streets because the only protest I'd really seen in my lifetime in America didn't work. It was Occupy Wall Street. Now, giant protest movement seems to be working.
It does.
So keep taking to the streets.
Yeah. And I mean, and I don't think there will be a tit for tat if we do this the right way. Do judicial reform, small d democratic reform, and I don't see how Republicans are ever in power again to do a tit for tat. So
they will have self-immolated so hard. Like, what do they run on next? Like, say somehow, this is a fantasy, so go find a happy place with me. Pretend that there's nice Yanni's playing in the background, or Enya, whatever your jam is, and Biden wins and Trump, has a stroke that turns him into a calm person, and he says, "Okay, I'm leaving. Biden can have it," and they have a peaceful transition of power, and Biden comes in and takes over. What how do things go smoothly from there? What happens that makes all of this, like, what's the plan that makes this all go fine, that in perfect world, how does this go so that the Republicans cannot pull this off again, pull off all the changes that went on, series of 5 steps?
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. the first two, and I'm not sure on the order, are the small d democratic reforms. HR1, which was the first bill proposed in the House in 2018 after the Dems took it back, is a really great place for people to look at some of these reforms. It's expanding the electorate, it's expanding the vote, it's protecting the vote, it's ethics reform in Washington, it's getting dark money out of our politics, all that kind of really important stuff. I think that's one. Court reform has to be the first one, and I think there has to be. I go back and forth on this. Jeff Charlotte I was chatting with Jeff Charlotte on Twitter a little bit about it publicly, about truth and reconciliation commission type of commission for the Trump administration and their crimes. And I think we need it. Jeff Charlotte was worried, saying that this was going to stoke violence, but I think we need it. I think the damage done to our democratic institutions and norms is just so great that I think we need something like that, some sort of accountability to rebuild those norms and institutions. So to me, those are sort of like the three big things that I think need to happen to really start healing our government and our democracy. It's going to piss some people off and make some people angry, and it's going to send QAnon and probably 4chan and those dark corners of the internet into overdrive. And I mean, I know there have been a lot of people who are suggesting what maybe we could call a fourth, some sort of reform on media and social media and YouTube and Facebook and things like that.
Oh my God.
I guess I'm broadly for that, but I don't know how you do it.
It's
the plans for it. So
I mean, well, right now people are. There are Republicans who want to repeal Article 230, which I think. I'm not sure if people understand how Article 230 works. Like, and I've discussed this on my podcast because that's something that's really relevant to what we do over there. They're basically trying to take so when you post something on Facebook, you post, your whatever comment about had pizza day, whatever, like your silly little thing that nobody needed to hear, but you just want to tell your friends it's cool. Article 230 makes it so that Facebook is not liable for that comment because they're not a publisher, they're a platform. Basically, you get rid of Article 230, and I'm probably fucking up the explanation on this a little bit because I am not a legal mind. I am a scientist who moonlights as a legal mind on the internet. You take away Article 230, and suddenly Facebook is liable for everything that everyone writes, as are, pretty much every other website on the internet. And so Facebook and other websites get very scared about having, about allowing you a place to write shit on their website. And it just stifles speech that's, anti-Trump. And it's because the people that are coming that want this to go away are people that are people that have very thin skin. And it's very strange watching this. It's like, don't they understand that this article being in there allows them the speech that they want to make too? And I don't know how that works out in their mind. So do you have any thoughts on what happens if Article 230 is changed in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of really bad information going on around Section 230. There's sort of like these tropes in online legal discussions that lawyers kind of hate, because a lot of them are like you probably hear a lot of lawyers joking on Twitter about like, that's RICO, because everybody thinks everything is always RICO. And Section 230 is kind of one of them. I mean, I think the simplest way to describe 230 is that it says if I post something defamatory about SciBabe on social media, you could turn around and sue me, but you couldn't sue Twitter or Facebook. Again, kind of the idea that the social media platform doesn't necessarily have the right to moderate stuff as it sees fit. Now that's a broad oversimplification, and you can see why people are then hearing it and saying, "Oh, well, then this doesn't allow Twitter to say that article is false," and things like that. I would actually, I'm trying to think. Popat, Ken White, who's he's done a couple. I think he did a podcast. He has a podcast called Make No Law, and I think he did one on Article 230 that was like short and a very good explainer and why people are wrong about this and what actually is going on. I mean, I hesitated to raise this up as a fourth step because I haven't looked into the plans for reforming Facebook or Twitter or the media more broadly. Like, I mean, to me, like, those aren't even the big, I mean, Facebook is a huge problem, but like Fox News is like a massive problem. Kids, go put a parental lock on your parents' cable box for the Fox News channel.
If you can if you're able to go visit your parents, if it's safe during the time of COVID, just sneak home. Put a couple protections, block foxnews.com on your parents' computers. Look, you're doing the Lord's work. Do what you can to help your parents out. It's like remember when they tried to protect you from porn when you were a kid? This is you helping your parents now. Return the favor. Return the favor. Be a mensch. You can do it.
Rotted. So like all that's to say, I think I'm generally in favor of that. Obviously, I'm not in favor of violating the First Amendment and things like that. And there's also, you know, the other big thing that you're seeing a lot of, especially now, as well, that censorship that violates the First Amendment when people are getting their tweets and stuff taken down.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No.
As a First Amendment lawyer, like, but I mean, I think
this drives me nuts.
But the charitable interpretation of that is, right, like, free speech is not just a constitutional protection that's enshrined in the First Amendment. It's an American value. And people tend to conflate those two things, unfortunately.
I think that the right to say whatever the fuck we want to say to whoever the fuck we want to say it, whenever the fuck we want to say it, that's America. We think that being told no when we have those opinions is anti-free speech. It's like, y'all, you can say what you want, but being called an asshole for saying what you want is also free speech. So, like, I have a lot of opinions. I've been called an asshole a lot of times for those opinions, and that's free speech. That's just how it works, and I've accepted that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there are people who no matter how many times you tell them you're experiencing free speech right now, the other side gets it too. It doesn't sink in, but I don't think it's that they don't understand that's how free speech works. I think it's that they know they can tell their audience that this is how free speech works, and their audience will just buy it every time.
Yeah. I think there's definitely bad faith from some of the people driving that conversation as opposed to the audience receiving it. I definitely agree with that.
It's like I say that partially in that I know how dumb Dave Rubin is, so maybe he actually believes this is how it works. Look, he's not a smart man, Jenny.
I was on his show like,
oh my God,
3 or 4 years ago now.
So sorry.
Yeah, you know, it's been sad to watch that descent, and then like this most recent, like he's like proudly voting for Trump, and that's just been
he's also found religion, and I'm not sure if he's like refound his roots in Judaism, or like he went on tour with, and I'm so fascinated by this because first, so he and I were assigned a ride to our hotel from the airport from the airport to the hotel at Reason Rally, and to this day, and I have to clarify, I have been to the AVNs, so I've been around a lot of porn stars all at once. I've still never seen a more heavily Botoxed human in my life than Dave Rubin. And I'm not saying this to hate. I'm saying I love Botox. I'm not only a person who makes fun of it. I am also a client. But wow, Dave, just cut it back by like 7 syringes in your eyes alone. That's all. I'm just saying. I know the gays in West Hollywood have high standard. Bring it down a notch. But like he was a guy who went to Reason Rally, and like he after touring with with Jordan Peterson, he's taken the God pill. He's gone like it's just he had Marianne Williamson on his little show, and Marianne Williamson dunked on him for not understanding how democracy worked. Like, dude, when the angels in devil suits lady can tell you how democracy works. whew, maybe you don't have any right having a political show. I'm just saying.
And there's another one of that ilk who was tweeting about how he voted for Jorgensen this election.
Who was it?
And I'm not going to give him a name. I'm not going to give him his name because I don't want to give him any more bandwidth. But they both suck, and we deserve better. So voting for Jorgensen, and
oh my God, Jorgensen is like, people. I saw so many libertarians that I just jump onto that. They're like, the libertarians actually nominated a woman. I'm like, 5 people showed up, and the people that nominated her, like, were just the people at that thing. Like, that's not democracy at all. That's just
her running mate. Her running mate is Spike Cohen, and this is literally his platform is giving away free ponies with 20mm cannons. Not a joke. A Waffle House on every corner. Not a joke. Investing in time travel. Something to do with like fixing World War, like going and killing baby Hitler, something like that.
Okay,
I don't know.
This is a bad plan because you should not kill baby Hitler. You should get him into art school.
Like investing in time travel, and then I don't know. Maybe I don't know what this means. Maybe you, with your medical expertise, can weigh in here. Legalizing recreational plutonium. This is the person that somebody voted for because we deserve better. What?
Yeah, we need to yeet these motherfuckers into the fucking sun. Actually, apparently it takes less delta V to yeet someone out of the solar system. So let's be good with propellant and yeet them out of the system. So I saw this on Twitter from a physicist. I want to respect the physics and look, global warming is a thing. We gotta cut down on propellant. So out of the solar system with these fuckers. But Jesus, we're gonna. Yeah. Wow, like burden supreme for president. I just remember. Hey, it was only 9 months ago. It was about 9-10 months ago when we were still having the primary in which I voted for Elizabeth Warren.
Voter.
That's how not long ago the world was still a little uncrazy.
Yeah. She sent me a I voted pin that I've been wearing with my suit jackets that I'm very, very.
So she sent it to you like personally, like straight, like not from the campaign, but like, okay, you're like, I'll pretend to look for and like put this in the envelope and looked at yourself and.
Yep.
Oh man.
There was a note in there with her signature. It didn't look like it was printed off a machine. So
my mom had lunch with her early in the campaign, like, because she's in New Hampshire, and being in New Hampshire, you get to meet fucking everyone.
Yeah.
If you're working on the Democratic coordinated campaign, so she's met a ton of people. She's a big fan of Julian Castro from like he's been up there awesome. Like handful of campaigns, and like I hope he runs again, and I'm really hoping that eventually I get to cast a vote for him for president.
I met Elizabeth Warren like. I don't remember how long ago it was. It must have been. It was before Trump's rise, and I was on Capitol Hill. I was doing some lobbying, and maybe it was after Trump. I'm not exactly sure because time has no meaning anymore. And I was kind of wandering around the Hart Senate building, slightly lost, but I had time to kill before my next thing, and my next meeting, and I was kind of looking for where it was. Yeah. And someone said, do you need help with where you're going? And I turned around and it was Elizabeth Warren. And I knew who she was a little bit, but not enough. And I was like, oh no, like, thank you. But we ended up chatting and she kind of walked me over to the next meeting. And I don't remember what we talked about, but she was awesome. And I was just like blown away that somebody would take the time to do that.
Like, I just would have been a blithering idiot because I was a fan of her from before she was a senator. Like, I think the first things I remember from her were her going on to Bill Maher and doing interviews on there talking about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Like, it's from then on out, I'm like, I don't know who she is, but she's brilliant and I love her. Like,
she's so fucking smart.
You know who else I want to see run event, and I'm gonna guess we're not going to see Warren run again. You know who I want to see run eventually? Katie Porter.
Oh yeah, I am in love with Katie Porter.
Oh my god, yes! Like her, I just want to see her take her whiteboard and like WWF style, just like crack it over someone's head eventually.
Take her whiteboard to a debate and just Yeah.
Just
No,
like take it
she's
like,
amazing.
now this is what you did with the nut. This is what you did. I have the record right here. Now, why did you think this would be an acceptable amount of money to keep an American family alive? Explain
Yeah.
it to me. How did you think this? Do you know how much a gallon of milk costs? This is how much it costs. Like, I just want to see her do that to someone.
Yeah. No,
I
I
just,
would very much
would
very
vote.
much like them.
I'd vote for, like, there are a handful of tickets that I see eventually coming down the pipe for us that I'm like, these are good. These are smart people. These are people who have charisma that people are going to look forward to voting for. So I'm really hoping that we see Katie Porter.
Yep.
Leslie Wicker just asked, did you see, this is an amazing thing on Twitter. She put out a tweet
Yeah.
with her band, get in the car, loser. We're going voting. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love her.
Yeah.
She's personality plus. She's so smart, so able to nail people in ways that the American public understands easily. And that's important. Like, when you get people with just, as a bunch of jargon and things that they can't get, it's not helpful. But when she nails someone that she's questioning, everyone gets it. And that's incredibly helpful.
It is.
So,
She's awesome. And that it is a skill, like being able to communicate those complicated issues to the wider public, especially things like math and economics and stuff where people are just like just glaze over. Like that. I mean, and she does it in a way where she also just dunks so hard on people.
Oh my God. Just the end of it, like, should you just have like a bucket of a basket of microphones next to her desk, so just every time afterwards she's gonna be like there's a pile of them in front of her place, and she can just like keep dropping them. Just be a good time. So let's before the end of this, let's bring it back to a serious place, unfortunately, because things are, we've got 2 days left until things go to shit. Walmart has decided they're going to turn down profits on things because they're so afraid of shit going down on Tuesday, that they have removed guns and ammo from their shelves. It's like, you guys who are watching this understand that Walmart, this might be a surprise to you, they like money. And at a time when a lot of people would be buying guns and ammo, they have removed guns and ammo from their shelves. And I hope you understand that that's not a good sign. A lot of, like, Beverly Hills is boarded up right now. I think there are a decent number of shops in downtown LA that are boarded up right now. Portland, well, no matter who wins, Portland's just going to be in flames. I'm terrified about what's going to happen in Portland. It's not good. There are, let's see, somebody just, Russell just commented, the guns aren't on the shelves, but they'll still sell them if you ask. Yes, but they are not selling ammo right now. Somebody said Walmart reinstated gun sales on Friday, but again, not selling ammo. Just want to clarify, not selling. It's there. People are okay. They put I apologize. They're selling guns again. Not. Did they reverse it already? Okay, so apparently for 2 days they did a sensible thing. So, sorry that I'm not up on Walmart selling things from like a day ago. Anyways, but yeah, so Walmart tried to be sensible.
I wonder if they caved to pressure. Does anybody in the chat know that? Or did they cave to pressure, or
yeah,
I mean, they must have to reverse.
If there's an article from someone on how that happened. Somebody suggested Seidel Cybabe 2024.
Cybabe title 2024.
It's no. Look. There is too much evidence of all the fuckery I did in my 20s. I will be science advisory to Seidel. Seth Andrews 2024 or Seidel Leanne Lord. I will do that. That's a ticket I will be on board for.
Leanne should definitely run, and she should run at the top of the ticket because she wins the evangelical vote. Lord, how can they not vote for Lord?
I will see. I'll just be the science advisor in the background. Like that's a ticket I will advise for. Just don't. I promised my husband a long time ago, even though I love politics, clearly, I will never run because I've seen what politics does, like to the private lives of good people that don't seem like they have anything to hide, and I'm a bad person. So let me. I'm just, I'm a person who's lived. I've done, fun, weird, ridiculous stuff with my life that sometimes doesn't involve having my clothes on, and I don't think that my husband deserves to have our lives splashed across whatever newspaper decides, this is the candidate I'm going after. So yeah, no, let's not. But I'll happily, if ever a candidate's like, I need some science advising and to learn how to talk about, health facts to people. Could you come help? I would love to do that. But, I don't know shit about economic plans. So that's why I'm not running for office. It's not a job that I should do. There we go. But yeah, people like you who are lawyerly and know how the law works is a good idea.
I have to say, though, I do think people watching ought to consider. I mean, this is when I was able to do my book tour before COVID ended it. This was the thing that I would end my book talk with, a call for everybody in the office or everybody in the audience to think about an office that they could run for. And you sort of touched on it a little bit there. Not necessarily the skeletons in your closet, but a lot of people out there watching this do not feel qualified to run for office. And the only thing you need to do to know that is not true is look at who is in office right now.
Oh yeah.
So I would really encourage everybody watching this to get out there and find a local office that they can run for. I mean, it can make a huge difference.
To be fair, the Republicans did back a child molester. Actually, a couple of child molesters.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where it's like where does the
totally
line...
fucking unqualified. Donald Trump has no qualifications to run a goddamn country, and look where it got us. Like, he didn't run businesses, and to the extent he did, he ran them into the ground, and we voted him in. Well, we didn't. Some assholes voted for him on this businessman mystique, and look where it fucking got us. Like,
there are still people who think that he's a good businessman, even after we've seen his taxes. Now we've had plenty of years to see what it's. Did you hear? Okay, it's literally been 2 nights in a row.
If your mom runs for office, I'm volunteering for her campaign.
It's hey, so my mom just said she's considering running for office in New Hampshire. So y'all, if any of y'all want to help, so my mom and I first worked on the Hillary primary in 2008 and then the Obama campaign. And since I moved away from New Hampshire around right before the 2012 it was either right before or right after the 2012 campaign. Mom worked on that. She's just continued to work on every election, like every small election, every big election since then. At one point, they asked her to run for a state seat. And the problem with New Hampshire is that you have to go back and forth to the Capitol like once a week to go and vote on various things. And they pay you $100 a year. That doesn't even cover your gas. So and they have some people, it's basically all retired people with enough money to, throw that into their tank and go do that. So tends to sway who ends up running, unfortunately. But no, she works on a lot of we got into the political things together. And she, because she's still in New Hampshire, keeps doing it. It's like, Mom, just run, Mom, go do a thing. It'd be so cool. Why not? I'm just saying, now here's the craziest part. So my father was a state rep in New Hampshire, and he was a Republican, and he allegedly committed voter fraud. So if you look up, and this isn't a secret, this isn't even a secret. The Boston Globe covered it. If you look up Don Lehman, Rochester, New Hampshire, voter fraud. I don't even know if you have to put up voter fraud, but he tried to bribe an election official to say he lived in his district so that he could still vote for himself in his old district, and he had moved out. It was so nuts. But I hadn't spoken to him in 15 years at that point. But yeah, the only case of voter fraud that I've heard about in New Hampshire was from a Republican, and it was my father. I just want to clarify that I know voter fraud happens because it was my dad. So yeah, why don't the Republicans want to talk about that for some reason?
Yeah, they just want to. I don't know, but it just goes back to what we were talking about, right? You need to go vote. You need to go vote early if you can. If you voted absentee, don't put it in the mail. Go find a drop box or take it to the clerk. We have to vote in numbers that are big enough to overcome apathy. to overcome structural hurdles like the voter ID laws and the other voter suppression measures. We have to overcome a president who is going to declare victory on election night, no matter what the numbers say, just like he declared victory with the lethal pandemic that is still killing hundreds of Americans a day. We have to overcome the Electoral College, right? An artifact of slavery that still fucking exists.
Oh my God. How do you think early vote? Because we have
I don't think you can tell.
Yeah,
I don't think you can tell.
Oh, I've looked a little bit at the stats from it, and again, I know that looking at the stats is just trying to like we're just trying to look at the numbers and we're trying to read tea leaves right now, basically.
I think it's because of the pandemic, though. If the pandemic wasn't going on, I think maybe you could do more reading into that.
The only good thing that we can kind of use to help assure us a little bit is that the numbers for independents and Democrats tend to be are much higher than the Republicans, but they're also like Texas has already voted at above the percentage that it voted in 2016. So we already have a higher vote count, and that's before everyone shows up who's going to vote on election day. A couple other states are coming close. Like it looks like it's going to be record turnout by a ton, but who knows what that what that rolls out to, and who knows if the record turnout is going to be if it's going to be in the right places. So that's the fun of the Electoral College, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, like everybody watching, like they want to take away your vote because your vote is all that matters. That's why they want to take it away. So get out and vote. And remember, I mean, I'm going to say this till 2022, but we're voting for a chance to shape this country into the inclusive democracy that values the voice and vote of every person. That's what we're voting for, that chance. But if we win, then we have to start fighting for it. So winning the election is just the beginning. Then we actually really have to get down to the business of fighting for it.
Yeah, it's one thing that it's. Do you think there's ever a chance in this country that we will have compulsory voting, where it's everyone has to vote and you have to pay a small fine, a small, slightly annoying fine to get out of it? Like,
I'm actually okay with this. I was texting with Andrew Torres because I talked about this with Matt Dillahunty, and I thought Torres and I disagreed with it a while back, but he didn't remember it when we were texting. But I haven't done enough research to really have an opinion, but I'm okay with it generally, I think, so long as there's a box that people can check that says I am abstaining from voting in this election to exercise my First Amendment right to protest. Something along those lines, right? So, but they still have to check that box to do it. Like if
someone, they have to send in a form.
Yeah, I kind of am okay with it. I think people should have their right to protest, and if they want to, but I think they could at least be forced to go through the motion without violating their rights. And I'd be very curious to see where we would be as a country if we had that.
But forcing Americans to do anything, like you can't get them to put on a face mask during a pandemic without them yelling about freedom.
Once you make something political,
I'm just like, if we told them that underwear was political, they'd all be freeballing it.
Oh my gosh, Yvette, I forgot. Like, do you remember before RBG news happened, you and I were talking about, like, joking about the nobody sees below the waist on.
Oh Lord.
And I was gonna try to make some sort of fundraiser out of it, and we were gonna say, like, we were gonna have people bet on what I was wearing below the waist. Do you remember this? We were like, it's been wiped out by the RBG death.
Oh my! Wait, are you wearing festive boxers today? Is that what you're about?
I'm not. Last time I think the way we talked about it was people could wager in the comments, and if they lost, they had to donate it to a charity or something like that. We were going to talk about it. That was, I think, where we were going to go. And if they won, somebody was going to get a signed copy of the book. Was, I think.
And then we were all just so ready to vomit when RBG died that, like, and now we're just so ready to vomit because, oh my God.
But I did that whole last interview with you, that whole last chat, in a kilt.
I
And that
didn't
was
even
it.
know.
Yeah, I know. I forgot. I like we were so miserable for the whole thing. I didn't even. And then I stood up afterwards and I like walked away and I was like, "What the fuck?" Oh,
I had no idea.
yeah. And I was like, and Liz was like, "How did it go? Did you make any money for whatever with the kilt thing?" And I was like,
Uh, uh, uh,
"Yeah, I just wore a kilt. I did."
oh
So
shit.
anyway,
So now I know you were wearing a kilt. Thank you.
mhm, I was wearing a kilt.
Oh man,
Hmm.
Jesus. Oh, so I've held you here for an hour and a half. I figure you probably want to get going with your day eventually. I want to go and bake an anxiety cheesecake.
Yeah, I got to
Uh,
go make some calls for Biden. I got to
Oh,
go
good,
get riding with
fantastic.
Biden.
So
Yeah.
let's wrap this up with some final thoughts. It's on. So other than to tell people one last time to, as I like to remind people, vote. If you don't know where your polling place is, and I know I put this up every single time, there's a website right down there that links. You can go find your polling place. If you have a mail-in ballot at this point that you have not mailed, do not put it in the mail. Drop it off at a designated drop box that you can find the address for on your designated state or local municipality's website. Drop it off at the town clerk if that is the appropriate place for your municipality, or drop it off if this is allowable in your area, straight at the polls, or vote in person. Get there early. This is all hands. We cannot, again, it's because we don't know if they're going to stop counting any absentee ballots to get there after the date, or if they're just going to stop counting at midnight in some places because the Supreme Court is just, doing things. Go vote. Get there in person. Vote early. Vote. I was going to say vote often, but please don't take that as a sign of consent to vote multiple times. Vote once, but get in there and vote, people. And if you can, as I always make the plea, bring a friend. Do you have any parting thoughts you want to leave people with on how to make this a little bit less of a nightmare?
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly your last thought there. Bring a friend is one of the best things that you can do. I mean, there are so many people who don't know how, they've never voted, and there are all these hurdles up, and the media and the news is so bad about making it seem like it's such a hassle. It's easy to vote. And one of
Yeah,
the best things you can do, one of the things that we do when we're calling people, is try to get them to promise to get 3 people to go with them and vote.
nice.
So that I mean, and shit, just check in with. I called everybody I know over the past few months to make sure that they are voting. They've voted early. They have a plan to vote. Like, you
Yeah.
can do that too. If you know you can't convince your Trump supporting family to do it, you don't have to call them and remind them.
Yeah. I mean, Trump supporters, like, don't worry. They're very smart and resourceful. They'll find out how to vote on their own. They don't need your help. They don't need a libtard's help. Why would they? They'll figure it's fine.
Yeah,
Just
you could remind them of the date. You could remind them that Trump voters vote on November 10th, and
yeah.
you'll be
Yeah,
able to.
they get a special date to vote so they don't have to deal with any of us. Yeah,
Mhm,
it's safe for that day or
mhm,
something.
yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah, that'll do it. Anyways, we love you guys all. Be safe. Board up your houses and hide your kids, hide your wife. It's just, I'm terrified. I think you are a little bit too. Let's hope this doesn't all shit doesn't all hit the fan tomorrow. I have my friend James Fell, because we need a Canadian to come down here and tell us how fucking terrified he is too, from all the way up in Canada. And I don't even have my guest lineup solidified for election night. I think it's probably going to be a lot of me being terrified with you guys, and a couple of my friends hanging out with me. I don't know when I'm going to be too stressed to call it a night on election night. But thank you for hanging out and with
Happy to
me,
do it.
and having a few hours of distraction from this awfulness. It's been a week of live streaming every day, and it's been a really great way to distract myself for like 2 hours a day from
Yeah,
all of this. So
yeah.
it's
I'm
good luck
happy
and
to do it.
Godspeed. Good luck
I'm
and
happy to
Godspeed
do
for
it.
the next
Yeah,
few days.
yeah,
I,
yeah. You
it's
too. Everybody, hang in there. Hang in there. We can do this. We can get through this. Hang in
it's
there.
just a couple
Go
more
vote.
days,
Go vote.
guys. A couple more days until democracy might die.
Go vote.
Vote
Go
Biden.
vote.
Go
Go
vote.
vote. Go vote.
I say we're going to be okay. I'm telling this to myself until maybe eventually I believe it. Anyways, we love you guys. We will see. I'll see you all tomorrow.